From Washington Technology, you're listening to WT360 with Nick Wakeman and Ross Wilkers. Nick and Ross study the market from every angle, explore new mission imperatives, and field forecasts for where the government contracting industry is going. Whether it's mergers and acquisitions, contract wins, or new corporate strategies, what's driving the federal market this week? Let's find out.
Welcome. I'm Nick Wakeman, editor of Washington Technology, and my guest today is Kim Koster, Vice President of Product Marketing with Unanet. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you, Nick. Appreciate it. Glad to be here with you.
Yeah, it's good to talk with you again. So I know each year Unanet and Cohn Resnick produce the GAGE report, um, and you collect data on different aspects of business, and companies use that as a uh, baseline to measure their own performance. But GAGE itself is actually an acronym that fits what the report is about. So can you run through the acronym for us real quick?
Yeah, Christine Williamson and I decided that we could not be left out in the GovCon industry. We had to have an acronym ourselves. So GAGE is an acronym for government compliance, accounting, utilization, growth, and efficiency. It really breaks out the entire area that a business needs to be concentrating on. The one other thing, Nick, that's really important about the GAGE and what sets it apart from other benchmarking studies is that we concentrate on a theme each year. So last year it was lead by forecasting, um, which gave us some really great information. And this year, I think we really knocked it out of the park with our theme on balancing efficiencies and compliance with AI insights. So very, very trendy and things that people are really thinking about today.
Yeah, that's one of the things I like about the GAGE report, that each year you sort of do have those themes, and there are a lot of great insights in the report about AI usage among government contractors. So let's start there. So what stood out for you?
Well, when we looked at AI and we tried to get a broad understanding of how government contractors were using it, what they were using it for, and I think we all know that AI is going to really radically change how government GovCons operate overall. So one thing that we started with was we asked, uh, what's the use of your data? Are you using it, and how confident are you in the data that you have? And then we layered that with whether or not people were using or companies were using AI. And we found that companies that were very data driven, they were much more likely to be tech forward or utilizing AI, or at least planning to utilize AI. We did that same thought process. We applied that around to the accuracy of the data. And we found that tech forward companies were very confident in their data and that they use data as an asset. And I think companies that treat data as an asset will be much further ahead with their AI journey as we go forward.
Okay. And you all found that, um, about a third of the companies are pretty, kind of out there already using AI, you know, and maturing their processes and things. How quickly do you think we'll go from that one third to everybody?
I think we're going to see a rapid increase over the next several years. We noted, though, that when we asked about whether people were using it today or whether they plan to use it or no specific plan, we did see quite a few folks that were using it, the one third, but we also saw somewhere between 41% and 63% that were thinking they had no plans in the future to use it. Now, the biggest areas that we saw that use was business development and marketing, with 25% using it today and 34% planning to use it. The lowest group there was finance and accounting. They're definitely going to be the laggards here. Those folks need to have uh, pure accuracy, or as accurate as they can possibly get, and they need to be compliant. So I'm sure there's going to be a little reluctance and trust factor from that group.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems to me that kind of surprised me a little bit because and of course, I'm not an AI expert at all, but it seems like finance and accounting is very rules based, which kind of lends itself to AI very well, that you can really describe what you want the AI to do. So we'll have to watch that one. Um, but another finding that you all had in the report was like the smaller companies. I think it was 30 to $50 million revenue ones, that they seem to be kind of ahead of the curve and the most, using AI a lot. Any insights on why that is?
I think it was in the revenue band of 25 to 50 million. And I think that set of companies, in order to compete, is realizing they have to be more efficient. They've got to be efficient to get their profitability and to have rates that are competitive with those larger companies. So, and that is the group that's kind of moved out of the programs, the 8A top programs, and they're moving into larger competitive bids. So they're definitely going to need to be more efficient. And they're
Yeah.
using AI as a way to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and you mentioned, how I guess it's great most prevalent uses in BD and marketing. Any thoughts on, like, why it's kinda gained that early foothold in those areas?
Yeah, I think it's because we see a lot of generative AI. So, Chat GPT, things like that. That is great for being able to do content creation or being able to go back and check and make sure that you've met all the requirements, make sure you've got all the FAR clauses and everything that you need to have, and that your response is compliant. So I think that's the reason why we're seeing so much in the business development world. In fact, we asked, what areas it was having the biggest impact on, and it's in content generation. So by far, it's the biggest section.
Yeah, yeah. Now I thought that the report also had a couple things in there that, almost like, tools for the user, like how to, advice on getting started with AI. Can you kinda talk about those? I think there were like 7 steps kinda thing or 7 tips.
Absolutely. So first off, you're going to identify any processes or systems that you can most benefit. So in the report itself, it talked about content generation, data analysis, predictive analysis, operational efficiency. So it also will give you some ideas in places that you might want to look. Then you also need to start to build that internal expertise. So with your leaders and then other key personnel that you want to drive that AI journey. You're also going to need to have and understand how you're going to have AI governance. That's also going to be very important. Then you're going to look at your data. So we're going to make sure that our data is clean as it can be, that it's accurate, and that it's relevant. So, making sure that we really look, I said earlier, making sure that you understand that data is an asset, and it is a huge asset for the company because it really can, one, enable you to use AI better, but it can also give you, KPIs and great direction of where you should take your business. Then you need to look at your cybersecurity and make sure what your privacy risk profile looks like and implement any kind of measures that you may need to enhance your security. Then you need to go off and look at your processes. So map those processes, see what tools you're using, and make sure that you're keeping all the regulations in mind as you do that. Then you're going to want to pinpoint those AI based tools and platforms that are going to give you the best business results and then plan for your implementation. And what's interesting too is that in the report itself, Nick, we took the what would be the old CMMI and where you look at a maturity model. So everybody should be a little familiar with that. We used 4 instead of 5 levels, but we really use that to help people understand where they were on their AI maturity journey overall.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that as well, so I'm glad you brought it up. That first, level, is resistant. Are we still seeing some people in level 1?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that's when we saw the number of percentage of people who had no plans to use AI, we're definitely seeing resistant. But I think that the majority of people are sitting now at level 2, which would be what we call the curious state. And keep in mind that this maturity is going to depend on people, processes, and tools. And it's also going to have culture is also going to have a huge impact on this journey. So I think most people are at level 2. They're curious. They're looking. Looking at their data. They've got some internal champions, and leadership is supportive of them starting to look at that. So I think that's where most people are at this point.
Yeah. I would think that no one's really at the mature level, at level 4 yet.
I would say probably nobody's a full 3 either.
Yeah.
Be emergent. and that people definitely not at that level 4 yet, but something that everybody should aspire to. Somewhere between
Yeah.
3 and 3.5 is where really where we should be looking to go.
Yeah. That's interesting. It's just amazing how much in the last 18 months it's just kind of exploded on the scene. Now, did your report capture, because everything we've talked about is sort of like how companies use it internally. Any any insights on whether companies are using it in their solutions that they're selling to their customers, or is that an area you guys don't really, you know?
That's an area we really didn't explore.
Yeah. Now, given the rapid growth of AI, I'm really curious, will you guys ask questions about this next year, you think?
Absolutely. And we're going to want to see and track that maturity model and see where people are. We've also been doing several webcasts, and that is one of the poll questions that we ask because we want to see how that compares with how that compares going forward. So we'll have that information for today, and then we'll be able to look at that when we do our next report.
Yeah. Now, how much, I hate to spring this on you, but how much are you all using AI internally? Where are
Oh,
you guys?
at Unanet. We are very much what I call an AI first company, especially in the marketing area. So we are very tech forward in that area and are using it to really make our marketing engine very efficient.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting.
Actually, you
So
can
let's
also
switch. Go ahead.
actually you can also see at the end of the report, my boss, who's a CMO, Carrie Mahan, she's interviewed, and you can look a little bit about what she thinks about AI, and also Steve Karp and where they believe AI is going in the future. So we also had two Resnick executives that were also interviewed. So it's a really great way to see how both Resnick and Unanet are thinking about it for the whole
Yeah,
industry.
no, that's great. So, kind of just to change directions, just kind of talk about sort of the traditional part of Gauge. And I know you mentioned it up at the top, but tell us again. So, what are the main benchmarks that you guys are measuring?
Um, if you don't mind, I'll just kind of walk through a couple that I
Sure.
think interesting. Um, and optimism, it continues to be high within the GovCon industry, and that's been pretty steady. The one thing that Christine and I've always said is that the one nice thing about the GovCon industry or the marketplace is that it's very stable. So we don't always see huge changes, and that's why I think having this theme really gives us some additional insights. We also talked about and ask always what's keeping executives up at night. And this year, we saw recruiting and retention one more time. Nick is the number
Thank you.
one, but it was down by 8%. And we also, in the utilization section of the report, talk about full-time equivalents, all of the back office folks. Every single one of those overall was up. So an increase in headcount. So that tells us we're definitely getting better. People are getting staffed. And then we also saw this year concern about the election, so 14% increase in that. And there's definitely going to be, no matter who wins, there's definitely going to be winners and losers on that front.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Because I guess no matter what, we'll have a new administration.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. The other thing too is we looked at compliance, and we see that business systems continue to be front of mind for DCAA. And that they're continuing to want to secure that we have adequate systems in order to continue our overall mission. And the other interesting part of that was we saw that 64% are still seeing the accounting system being required in their solicitations. Okay, so I think that tells us that we're definitely concentrating in those areas.
Yeah, yeah. So how do you want people to use the report? What should, as an executive gets this, or how should they use it? Use it. Yeah.
There's some really great ways to use it. So I love the FTE chart. So, it will show for instance, how many accounting folks you might need, and it'll show you from all the different revenue bands. So if you're growing from a $24 million annual revenue up to, a $75 million revenue, you can see what most folks have for their back office. It'll give you a really good idea of what you might need to be thinking of if you get that next big contract. It's this next big cost plus contract. You're definitely going to want to take a look at that. The other thing is there's some great information around wrap rates and indirect rates. It'll just give you an indication of where you might be. You know, uh, I would, as I work for GovCons, I would want to take this information across the board and compare it to my KPIs and see where I am against my peers. And I think that's a huge benefit that we have.
Yeah, that's great. So finally, I guess maybe should have asked this at the beginning, but good to ask it now is where can people find the report?
They can go out and look at unanet.com, and they can grab a copy of the report. Same with the Cohen Resnick website, and you'll be able to just download it and use it. And we've also got some upcoming webcasts, and please look at our website to find out what's upcoming.
Yeah. And this is, you said this is the 8th one. So
It is the 8th one. It is the
a
8th
lot of,
one.
lot of tradition and data there. So Kim, that's about it. Thank you so much. This has been great. I love talking about AI and how companies are changing the way they do business. So I really appreciate this.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Nick. I appreciate the time and the opportunity to share our report with you.
Yeah. All right. And I want to thank you all for listening. I'm Nick Wakeman, the editor of Washington Technology, and this is the WT360 podcast. You can find our archive of podcasts at our website, washingtontechnology.com, as well as on the podcast platform of your choice. Thanks again and stay safe.